Kevin O'Leary said it best: "Salary is a drug that you get to forget about your dreams." Talked about that earlier. Also, if you live in the West in a large urban city, being a millionaire is almost meaningless today. When I was a kid, the notion of being a millionaire was almost unreachable. It was like, oh, only a certain type of person can reach that, and that's a limiting belief that I created for myself, and it took me decades longer to reach that achievement because I had that limiting belief. And I've talked about this before. How do you change that? You raise your standards. If you increase your standards, then you have new beliefs that fill that gap, right? As you raise your standards, sort of thing. Um, Back to this point over here. Financial freedom. $1 million doesn't get you where it once did, especially in a large urban city. You're talking Toronto, Vancouver, Miami, LA, New York, Chicago, any big, large urban center. Being worth $1 million isn't that much. Like 10 million is probably going to give you FU money, is basically what I'm saying at this point. Um, there's essentially 6 sources of income, which I've covered in a prior cast, which I'll recap very quickly. 1, C-suite jobs, CEO, CFO. 2, licensed professionals, so doctors, lawyers, accountants, stuff like that. 3, high ticket sales. You're selling yachts, jets, mansions, that sort of stuff. 4, fame. Fame with an audience. So that would include actors, musicians, influencers, even these TikTok weirdos that dance around like monkeys. If they have a large enough audience, they're going to make a lot of money. OnlyFans. Believe it or not, some of these gals are getting paid 50, 60, $100,000 a month showing pictures of stuff that you can just Google, if you really want. But that's the simp economy. That's what simps do to the economy. 5, STEM, software engineers, tech leads. I've talked to people that work for the FANG companies, the Facebooks, the Amazons of the world. You're doing well. You can make $700,000-$800,000 a year. And number 6, entrepreneurship, which is basically what I'm leading into this cast and what I'm going to talk about. Some will argue, oh, but Rich, I have X number of doors and people pay me rent and they make me rich, blah, blah, blah. Look, real estate's an investment like anything else. So you can invest money, which will pay dividends. But even if you work 1 through 5 on my prior list over there and you still acquire wealth, you're still plugged into the matrix, so to speak. Like you're still one of the tools, sort of thing. You still need to comply. If you're a licensed doctor, for example, or a lawyer, for example, and you've got all the doors, blah blah blah. I've got this rental income coming in, sort of thing. You're still exposed to some risk. You know. Oh, the next scandemic comes along. Sorry, sir, you're going to have to take these jabs, otherwise we're going to fire you. Fuck me, right? Oh, sorry, sir. Your tenants won't be able to pay your rent anymore. Do you know how many guys I know that almost got cleaned out because they were landlords and people just stopped paying rent because they lost their jobs? And you can't throw them out, especially in the wintertime. Here in Canada, anyway, you can't throw somebody out, right? So you got squatters living in your property. You're covering the mortgage, and they're not covering the rent anymore, so it's coming out of your pocket. Now you're very strongly cash flow negative, right? These are the sorts of things that I look at, and some people will be like, "Oh, well, you're looking too far into it." No, this is why I did fine during the scamdemic, and I had my inbox and my DMs and everybody calling in going, "They're threatening to do this to me if I don't do that, and if I don't do this, and I got a roof, to keep over the family's head. My wife will leave me." And it's like, look, this is why I procure and I think through these things, so the strategies are available. Anyway, let's keep going. And why I'm talking about entrepreneurship and what these tools are. Uh, Almost every actor, doctor, lawyer, CEO that wore their face diapers, took the jabs, bent the knees, used pronouns in their email bio when corporate calls for it. I never had to deal with that when I was in corporate, but it's a reality of today. They got to eat their woke rainbows and bend the knee to whatever is trending that month. They have a new month for everything now. They got months for this part of the alphabet, that part of the alphabet, the plus part of the alphabet. They're celebrating it continuously. I don't see that on the day-to-day basis, but I still have friends that work in corporate gigs, and it's reality of their life. Sometimes I see it in the email signatures. People will message me and they'll be like, "I'm part of the marketing team or something to do with this," and I'll look at their email signature and it's got like pronouns in there. I'm just like, no. Anyway, so it's a monkey see, monkey do sort of environment. Most societies don't want freedom anymore. They want free stuff. That applies to the government specifically, right? People vote for big governments, big incompetent governments, by the way, because the governments say, "Oh, well, we'll create more jobs, or we'll give you tax credits, or lift the burden of the amount of taxes you have to pay on your fuel or something like that. People are like, yes, give me that. I want to vote for more of that crazy shit. But they don't realize there's a consequence to that, which includes more control and more involvement in their life. The state comes into your house and into your pocketbook and into your life. We already know that they're already into family law. You can't even live with a woman now in a way that looks like marriage without the state saying, okay, now you're married, even though you didn't take any vows. And because you're parting ways, we need to slice and dice, all the assets. And it's just the way things are, right? So anyway, most society doesn't want freedom. We talked about that. They have their agenda. It's got to be yielded to. Monkey see, monkey do. Don't ask questions. Do as you're told. The question that I always ask when somebody starts complaining to me about these things, which I hear often, is, well, how is that working out for you, and what are you doing differently about it? I did a survey on the community tab of the Entrepreneurs and Cars channel about 3 or 4 weeks ago because people asked me about different things, and I said in the survey, what would you like to see more content on? Improving relationships, improving long-term relationships, how to make more money, self-care. I don't know. I put 4 or 5 up. You know what came in at 60%? How to make more money. And I find it very interesting that people are asking about how to make more money, but they don't necessarily do things to make life-changing more money. Let's keep going anyway. Most people just keep going into that specific direction. They see the code in the matrix, they see what's going on, they want to fully unplug, but they haven't done anything about it. Your government, your boss, society, women, they don't give a shit about your struggles, thoughts, opinions, freedom, or sovereignty. They want you on their plan, plugged into lies, paying the taxes, in debt. Debt is a slavery mechanism. I've talked about this extensively on my Total Debt Freedom channel. Yes, I have a lot of YouTube channels. The one I set up in 2009 when I was running my debt business, I've talked extensively how they enslave people with credit card debt. It's not designed to be indulged in and then escape from very quickly. There are mechanisms engineered into debt to enslave you, to keep you in that vicious cycle so that you're always paying interest and you're always under their thumb. Very few people understand this concept. Even when I speak about it, they'll read it, they'll nod their head, and then they just go on with their lives. They don't do anything differently. Follow rules, bending the knee to whatever's trending to control the masses. One week it's all, I already talked about that part. Uh, So let's talk about entrepreneurs and how they generally play. Most play not to lose. So I have a playlist, a podcast playlist on the Entrepreneurs and Cars channel. It's called Playing to Win. And they're really just conversations about chasing excellence. Some very interesting guests. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. But uh, there's a corollary to that, if you will, and it's called playing not to lose. And I've said this before, in life, most of the time, very successful men that get things done play to win. A lot of the people that just sort of get through life, okay, play not to lose. And while playing to win and playing not to lose sound like very, very similar things, they're very different. When you play to win, you basically put your cards down and you bet on that win. When you play not to lose, you're preserving. And make no mistake, there's times in life where you should play to win more, and there's times in life where you should play not to lose. If you're in the autumn years of your life and you've only got a few decades left, I wouldn't say go out there and play to win. I'd say, preserve your capital, make sure, you're very conservative, strategic about how you deploy money, what you invest in, stuff like that. That's more of a play not to lose strategy, and that's totally fine. But if you're young, if you're in your 20s or your 30s, you got a lot of runway ahead of you. You got to play harder. You got to play to win, right? And this is what entrepreneurs do. This is one of the tools that they understand is when they're going to get into a business, they just play to win with it, man. There's no effing around, right? Anyway, 9 out of 10 businesses fail. So I came across this stat well over a decade ago. The vast majority, 90% of businesses will fail within 3 years. Okay. And then of the ones that survive, so let's say 10%. I really hope you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to watch the full length podcast, you can find that over here, that clip's from. If you're newer to the channel, make sure you hit subscribe over here and pin down below in the top comment. You'll find a bunch of useful links to my website, my supplement line, books, and a bunch of other stuff. Have an amazing day. Peace out.